Getting a ticket, or how to deal with a ticketing cop in the wild. As for cops used to be tame, the current cop is more likely to be hostile and aggressive. Do not approach a cop with the assumption that it has been domesticated. Most cops aren't dangerous and will not harm you. Still, you should always exercise caution because you don't know what kind of a cop you're going to be dealing with. Always treat a cop with the same respect you would any wild animal capable of killing you. If the cop feels confused or agitated, it might lash out violently, so don't do things that might startle it. Avoid things like sudden movements, loud noises, or flashing lights. Don't make fun of it, don't poke it, don't use big words or anything else that might make it upset. Remember that when provoked, cops tend to swarm, and you don't want an angry swarm of cops around you. Safety first. If you're going to fight a ticket, the first thing you should know is that you don't fight it on the roadside. When a cop approaches you in the wild, you have no defense against its violence. The best thing to do is to pacify the situation and do everything possible to ensure that you can walk away safely. Fighting a ticket should be done in court where a cop cannot hurt or kill you. Never fight a ticket on the roadside, where you will have no witnesses and no one to help you should the cop become violent and lethal. They can and will kill if provoked, so be careful and don't take any unnecessary chances. Here are 3 do's and 3 don'ts. Number 1. Do remember that if a cop feels threatened, it will attack you. Do everything possible to make sure that you don't frighten the cop or make it feel threatened. If the cop says it fears for its life, it may use lethal force. If you keep calm, follow the cop's orders as much as is possible, and tell the cop what you're doing ahead of time, the cop will tend to feel less frightened. Number 2. Do try to leave the situation as quickly as possible. Asking questions such as, "Am I free to go?" or "Am I being detained?" are acceptable if you feel safe asking them and if you think that it'll lead to leaving the situation faster. Some cops become aggressive if you ask them such questions, so try to read the situation. Don't rile up a cop because an upset cop is much more likely to use violence. In general, it's best to get out of the situation as quickly as possible, and you should always try to do so safely. Number 3. Try to record all interactions with the cop. When there's a record of the cop's behavior, the cop will tend to be less violent. This is not a guarantee that the cop will not use violence, but it will at the least create a record of the cop's violence should it become violent. Inform the cop you're recording, and then ask for its badge number and business card. And now for 3 don'ts. Number 1. Don't make any statements to the cop other than to confirm or reject the cop's orders. Anytime you say anything to a cop, it's considered a statement. It's recording your words, and it will use your words against you later. Cops can and will take your words out of context in order to use them against you. Even if you've done nothing wrong, your statements can and will be used against you. This could result in a conviction which will increase the cop's quota and may result in a pay increase or bonus for the cop. Do not fall for tricks, lies, and ruses. If the cop postures as though it's friendly, do not fall for this basic trick. The cop is not your friend, and it will use your words against you. Always say as little as is possible to the cop. Do not speak unnecessarily. Number 2. Don't try to run away. Cops can be scary, but if you're around a cop, do not try to run away. This will only catch the attention of the cop, and it might try to chase you. If a cop gives chase for any reason, stop. Get on the ground, put your hands out. Yell as loudly as possible for anyone to hear so that they might start recording. Such recordings might save your life. Inform the cop that you're unarmed and pose no threat. This might not stop the cop from using violence, but the cop may refrain from killing you. Never run from a cop. Number 3. Don't give a cop a reason to notice you. The best way to avoid interactions with a cop is to be as invisible as possible. If you see a cop, don't be frightened. Stay calm, be cool, stay aware. Try to leave the area in such a way that the cop will not notice you. I like to stay behind cops. This way their attention is forward as where I'm backward. If I'm in front of a cop, I like to stay still and wait for the cop to pass. The cop is usually looking for something to do, and if I'm still, the cop will likely not notice me. The eye is drawn to movement, contrast, and form in that order, so the easiest thing to do is to stop moving. If possible, try to remain still in a place where there's very little visual contrast between you and your surroundings. The chances that the cop is looking for you specifically is very, very low, but don't give it a reason to notice you. The cop will likely leave the area, and then you can continue safely on your way. Remember, most cops are not dangerous, but it always pays to be aware that you might be in the presence of a violent cop. You won't know until you're in the situation. Play it safe and assume that all cops are possibly violent cops. Remember that fighting a ticket is always something to be done in court, never on the streets. And above all else, remember, stay smart and stay safe.